Hello and welcome to Natural Balance, where body, mind, and spirit connect. I'm your host, Mia Sines. And in this episode with me, you get to meet Dr. Sharon Cohen. And she is this magnificent relationship consultant. And I'm going to ask Sharon, because you guys know I don't like to read bios, so I'm going to ask Dr. Sharon to share some of her work. And then we're going to get into these 3 keys of love. We all want to know what the 3 keys of love are. So welcome. It's so good to have you, Dr. Sharon.
Thank you so much, Mia. It's great to be here.
Yay.
Yeah, well, I work with women who seem to struggle with finding love, and they're ready to give up on love oftentimes. And I help them have stable, committed, supportive, deeply loving relationships with a man who really rocks their world.
I love that because every woman wants to have that connection. We're connectors as women, period. So some women find that they're not connected to their mates, and then some, have mastered that, which is really beautiful. So
Absolutely.
I love that.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
I think every woman, despite the bad rap given to fairy tales, we all really kind of do want that happy ending and that happily ever after. And so I really like to help the women that I work with kind of go towards that.
I think that's very sweet. What age group, I'm just curious, what age group do you think has the most trouble connecting to a partner?
Oh, wow, that's such a great question. I have clients that are as young as 20, well, she started working with me, like as young as 24, and then as old as mid 60s.
Woohoo.
So yeah, I mean, really, it really ranges the gap, because I think that it's not specific to like the times that, I mean, there's a situation going on with the times today with modern love, but really this is an age-old problem of people connecting and people communicating and having difficulties just with understanding the opposite sex. And that's really what I love to work with.
It's amazing because, I always have thought, oh, I'm pretty savvy around men. And then to find out that I was like some bubbling idiot,
I think that's really why this is my calling, because I was cruising around, not married at age 40 and not really realizing that I had something to do with it. I thought same thing, like, oh yeah, no, I'm great friends with so many men and I love dating. It really wasn't an issue. But I also at the same time, people would say, you're so confident and independent. And on the one hand, I felt that, but on the other hand, I was also kind of lonely and sad and wasn't really honest about that. I had a couple close friends that knew that, but certainly from the outside world would not have known that I was feeling kind of that tug that I really wanted a relationship. And I wasn't telling anybody that because I didn't want to come off as needy or wanting or, God forbid, vulnerable. And so it was when I finally got with the woman who became my mentor. And because I had worked on stuff in therapy, but had never really gotten to what was my issue with why I wasn't in a relationship. And so when I got with my mentor, she was the one who really pulled out the issues that really did to why it was that I wasn't in a relationship. And so that's the kind of work that I do. Is it's more education based, really more in your face, and it's different. It's just a different sort of way of helping people.
Yeah, I love that. So let's dive into the 3 keys of love.
Yeah, I think what's different about what I say the first key of love is it's to focus on for women to focus on your don't want. So you want to, instead of, we know all about the law of attraction, which is pulling things toward you that you want, but wanting is a masculine energy. And so for women, you want to pay attention to what it is that you don't want when you meet men. So for instance, you would think to yourself, like, what don't I want? I don't want a man who doesn't make and keep agreements, or I don't want a man who drinks too much. Instead of saying, I want a man who's fun and charming and handsome and who's got a great job. Because when you're focusing on all those things that you want, then all these other things that are your don't wants are going under the radar and you're not paying attention to them. So that charming, fun guy who's got a great job, well, he's the same guy who may have an alcohol problem. But you didn't notice because it was the beginning of the relationship. And so in the beginning of the relationship, a lot of times you're going out to dinners and out for drinks, and you're not paying attention to, oh, wow, he drank 5 drinks tonight, or he was flirting with other girls, and you just thought he was being really nice to the waitress, food server. And so you're missing some things because you're looking at the things that you think are similarities or that are things that you find charming, but you're not paying attention to those don't wants. So that is one of the hugest keys, I think, that is so important for women to kind of awaken to.
I love that. I never thought about the don't wants because we don't want them. And so the way you say that, we really don't want them.
We really don't want them. And I think that people think it's really negative to focus on the don't wants. It's like, why would I want to focus on that? Then I'm going to get them if I focus on them. But no. If you focus on them, then you're going to pay attention to them and push them away, which is so important. It's another thing for women is like when you're in touch with your feelings in your body, with your gut instincts, then you're going to push away the things that you don't want. You're not going to pull them towards you. You're actually push them away because you'll be in touch with those feelings. So it's actually so critical for women to get back in touch with your gut instinct, because powerful, successful women have often become sort of disconnected from the feelings in their bodies. And so when you get back in touch with them, that gut instinct is just going to tell you so much. It's going to give you so much information and really inform your decision making. And so you'll have the capability to push away the things that feel bad and aren't comfortable. And you'll notice these don't wants much easier.
I love that. It's really beautiful, very smooth. What's number 2?
So number 2 would be to know yourself really well. Because if you know yourself really well, then you're able to you have your idea of your don't wants and your non-negotiables. And then when you know yourself really well, you're able to attract what it is ultimately that who it is, kind of who you are. Because when you're a healthy, peaceful, content person, then you're going to attract that in somebody else. If you're confident, strong, good communicator, you're going to attract that in somebody else. So it's really about getting in touch with who you are, so that you're the best you that you can be. And I don't think that you can heal completely by yourself alone in a vacuum. So you do need to get into relationships in order to heal those relational wounds that you have. So you do have to date. You can't be by yourself and heal these wounds. But you need to do what you can on your own, and then a relationship in order to heal the wounds that you have. So I'd say that's the second.
I like that you are talking about staying out there, keeping the energy open, keeping it flowing so that things are healing faster.
Absolutely.
I like that a lot.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because people go ahead.
Yeah, I think people say all the time, it's like, well, go heal by yourself, take a year off, go to a monastery or to the top of a mountain. It's like, you know what? We sometimes need to take some detox time from relationships. And I wouldn't say that that's not a good idea. It is a good idea at times. But I don't think you should jump from one relationship to another. However, I do think that you really do need to be in a relationship to have those relational wounds triggered. And that's where you heal them, is when they're being triggered in a relationship. So again, it's kind of contrary to what a lot of other people say, but I do think it's an important place to get those wounds worked on.
Yeah, that's about being an evolved being, isn't it?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Wonderful. And then we've got another one. What's the other key?
Yeah. So the third one is it's about kind of understanding the simplicity of men. And I don't mean that they're dumb, which sounds simple as dumb, but it's not. It's just that their needs are simple. And we analyze men to death, and they really don't need that or want that. All they really want is a woman who is appreciative and happy and maybe sex in a sandwich. And that's like an old joke, but it's a joke because it's kind of true. They just want their basic needs met, and they want for you to be happy and, appreciative and respectful of who they are. The whole yin and yang of masculine and feminine energy. There's truth to that complementarity of our energies that that men appreciate, whether they're the feminine energy or the masculine energy primarily, and vice versa, whether we're the masculine or feminine, because each of us we're all androgynous beings. We're all a psychological hybrid of masculine and feminine energy, and since that's the case, we just have to find the complementary person to ourselves. And once we do that, if we can just find that, that flow between the two of us, then the way that I like to say it is so that you're not like in a mosh pit together, banging against each other, competing or being overly emotional. If you can be like in a Texas two-step together, and if that's the best way to be dancing through life together as a couple.
That's really beautiful. I love that image. I'm imagining not just my current relationship, but all the relationships I've been in when you were saying that, and which ones were, the less smooth, and then which ones and what made them smooth, like the Texas two-step.
Yeah.
So that's really about evaluating where you are and where you want to go, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, if you can find that person, no one's perfect, right? We're all like imperfect human beings. If you can find that one who works with you as good as possible. I mean, there's so many sayings out there about finding the perfectly imperfect person for you, then you're golden. And stop. If you haven't found that person who's in your head, that perfect person in your head, then that person doesn't exist. You got to look at the reality of who's in front of you, because that's a reality. And so work with what's in front of you. Stop looking for whatever idea of perfection is out there in the world, because that's like just an image. That's not real.
How would you, so taking that about perfectionism and what we desire and what we want, how would you, or what would you say to a woman or a man who has had a partner at one point that they felt was perfect, and then the relationship broke up and they can't seem to find those qualities again?
Yeah, you know what? If there's someone in your past where it didn't work out, there was some reason that it didn't work out. And so now that person has just become a ghostly lover of your past. And so there's no one who can ever live up to whatever that was, because you've now romanticized them. And not only have you romanticized them, you've probably added in some features from other exes and put them, kind of added them into that person. So now that person is so much built into perfection. That person is now not only whatever great qualities they had, but then you've added in, say that person was like really good sexually and maybe was really nice. But then somebody else was like really exciting in some other ways, and you've added that onto the ghostly lover. And you've added on that, some other person was really wonderful with your family. But you've taken away whatever bad qualities that didn't work. And you've kind of like moved those over to some other area where you're not remembering why the whole relationship didn't work out. So it's taking a really good look. And one of the things I do with my clients is have them do a previous relationship inventory, so that we can start looking at like, what are the patterns here? What is it that continues to show up time and time again, good or bad? And how can we take that into looking at what your relationships are going to look like going forward?
Yeah.
And it just shows so much to really do that, because we don't necessarily know what our pattern is. We might say we know what it is. Until you start looking at it on paper, black and white, you don't really know.
Right.
And black and white really helps so much.
Yeah. It's interesting because as I was listening to you say that, um, part of who we are in our connection to self is we don't have the greatest um, impression, memory of who we are until we do, right? Until we're at the place that we're okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're floundering around. When you were saying that about some, creating this magnificent conglomerate of a person, I want everybody to realize that at some point in their beautiful long life, they were somebody's amazing something,
Yeah.
and the only way we know is when people come back around to us to try to reconnect. And because of the way that the internet is, it's allowable, or it's easier. So people put themselves down all the time. Besides the self-love work and that type of empowerment work, what would you suggest to, there's a lot of ladies who are in their 40s who have never been married before. And they feel that they're not worthy anymore, or they've lost the boat, missed the boat, that kind of stuff. What would you say to somebody sitting in front of you who was feeling that way?
Oh my gosh. I would say the biggest thing is don't ever lose hope. You never know. I would say to keep your eyes up and open, because you never know who's looking at you. You never know where where the energy is coming from. And if your energy isn't going out, then no one's gonna know that you're available. Um, I I met my husband at the age of 48, and I had never been married before. And the week before I met him, a girlfriend of mine said to me, "Don't you think it's just time we give up?" And she had been married before, but I hadn't. And don't you think it's time that we give up and we just say, like the Sex and the City girls, like that our girlfriends are our soulmates, and that men are just people that come in and out of our lives. And I looked at her and I said, "No, I don't feel that way at all. I still have hope." And literally 1 week later, I was out with the same girl and met the man who's now my husband. So you just don't give up. You just say, "No, I still have hope." And and since I've gotten married, I've met so many other women who've told me that they got married at 46, they got married at 50, they got married at 52. Like you just don't give up hope. You just keep your eyes up and open. You have to have that energy out there though, of like, I'm open and I'm available. And I think that's the difference, is that if you're shut down and you're like, "Man, I don't have any hope. I'm desperate. I'm lonely. Shut down. I don't think there are any good guys out there." You have all those limiting beliefs about all those reasons why it's just never going to happen. Then you know what? It's not going to happen. But if you have that energy about like, "No, the world is my oyster and there's people out there and you never know." Because here's the other thing is that when you say there's no good men out there, there's always turnover. There's a churn rate here of guys who are getting out of bad relationships and they're becoming available. They want to meet someone new. So you just never know.
I love that. It's like the seasons. The wind blows out all the stuff that's stagnant, and the spring brings in all the beauty. So
That's
I
exactly
love
right.
that. Yeah, that's beautiful. Lovely. So you have a free gift for us. Would you like to share it?
I do. I have a free ebook that's available on my website, which is drsharoncohen.com. And I also want to extend to your listeners or watchers that both, yeah, that I would love to offer a breakthrough to deep love phone consultation if they want to write me at my email, which is just Sharon at drsharoncohen.com. And they can give me a call or write me, and we can get that scheduled, and
Love it.
we can talk about maybe seeing if we can get that happy ending.
For sure. What else would you like to share with us? There's so much I know going through that pretty head of yours that you want to share.
Oh, you know what? I just really appreciate you, Mia. First of all, just you're wonderful, and I love your energy, And that I think that this is just such a great opportunity to meet all of your listeners. And just thank you so much. I just appreciate being here.
It's awesome. And you're fabulous. And I appreciate you doing this. For those watching this, you'll never know, but this is take two. Something happened with the other footage, and so we're doing this again. And I'm so grateful, because when I met Dr. Sharon Cohen, I was very impressed. You know, I met a bunch of love people on a Zoom call, because I was picking and choosing who I wanted for this show, and I couldn't help it. Just my eyes were going to you and your energy too. So it's lovely.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. So a few more last things before we go. Can you share with the audience how important, because it truly is very deeply important, but how important it is to continue with your self-development, or we'll call it self-love work, in order to establish who you are to bring in that man?
Oh, wow. I think it's critical, because if it goes back to what I said earlier, that if you don't know who you are, if you don't have that sense of self and self-worth and self-love and all the good things, then you're not going to attract a man who has those same qualities. You attract what you put out. And so if you're in a bad place, then you're going to bring back somebody who just has that same level of wherever you are, that's what they're going to have. So if you're in a low level of self-development, then that's what you're going to bring back. If you're not feeling great about yourself, then you're going to bring back somebody who's in that same level of self-development. So the higher you are, the better you'll bring back. Yeah.
I love that. And I so want people to understand that is so important, because whether it's a relationship for, a partner, whether it's a sisterhood with a friend, whether it's for your business, whether it's for raising your children, it's so vital to have that within them. And when you brought that up about relationships, I'm like, I'm going to hop on that thing again, because that's important.
It's huge, because it really does. It affects your relationship, your friendships, your relationships, all levels of communication, your business partnerships. I mean, really, everybody that you come into contact with, you up-level yourself every time you do some self-development work. And if you don't do it, I just feel like there's a level of investment that you have to put into yourself. Otherwise, you stagnate. It's either grow or die. And I don't want to die. And I wouldn't want that for any of you. So I would just do for your own benefit. It's just really important to invest that time, energy, resources into doing what you can to help yourself, because you can always get money back, you can always get that back, but you can't get time back. And this is your life. This isn't a dress rehearsal. So it's like, this is it for you.
This is it.
Yeah.
I love that. So with this is it, it's not a dress rehearsal. We're going to say goodbye to you all. So thank you all for joining us.
Yeah.
And thank you very much, Sharon, for being here. It was lovely to have you.
Yeah, thanks, Mia. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And that's it. This is the end of Natural Balance. Bye. I didn't know how to close it out there, because